I just want to reiterate that it is a real privilege to be sharing a platform with Farouk in the last few years when I've been reading about international politics and struggles of different peoples across the world. The struggles led by the LPP and struggles the LPP have been involved in have been a real inspiration to me, and it is always worth remembering that despite the fact that it's maybe been relatively a wee bit difficult, it's felt a bit difficult at times maybe to be a member of a socialist party when we've had splits and we've had a slight decline in maybe electoral support, if not the support for our ideas. If that's felt difficult, then imagine what it's like to have your comrades constantly at risk of persecution from security services and police, to see comrades jailed, and to feel the threat of people who are willing to use violence to suppress your ideas. Always be thankful that because of the struggles of our forebears, we've managed to they managed to establish a playing field so that we can speak freely. It's under threat, I would say now, with what's increasingly becoming a surveillance state in the UK, and I have no faith in the Liberal Democrats to dismantle that despite their rhetoric, but it's worth bearing in mind what these guys face. Farouk's party, the LPP, have never been, despite the fact that they probably have felt scared at times, they've probably felt fear, but they've never actually succumbed to that. They've always been willing to go ahead with some nasty characters, and they have to be commended for their historically really important role in bringing down the Musharraf dictatorship, which was an undemocratic puppet of US imperialism, and to a lesser extent Britain, this was a dictator who was presented to us in the West as being some kind of moderate, some kind of progressive, and somebody who we could work with. It goes to show you the hypocrisy of our governments when we claim to be trying to spread democracy across the world. Anything but has been the case in Pakistan. My plan had been, I've been looking forward to this for a couple of weeks, this meeting. My plan had been, I was going to do loads of research on Pakistan and the LPP and maybe try and talk a bit about it. I will come back to what's happening in Pakistan in a wee bit. But this week I couldn't come and speak on a platform and not talk about another country, starting with P, which is Palestine. Very different and very distant from Pakistan, geographically and culturally and all sorts of stuff. Two countries that are quite far apart in many ways. The two countries now, in the current historical context, that are being pushed closer together. And the reason for that is that the peoples in these countries are suffering daily misery, humiliation, and oppression at the hands, the principal blame must fall at the hands of the American government and the puppet governments in the shape of the Israeli state and the Pakistani state. In Palestine this week, on I think it was Monday, am I right? Monday morning, the week started with us finding out, and I still almost can't believe it. I still have to keep repeating it to really believe that it's true. That a group of charity workers were shot dead for the crime of trying to deliver aid. For me, as a member of the Irish diaspora in Scotland, brought back not memories because it's before I was born, but reminded me very much of the Bloody Sunday massacre and many of the excuses we now hear in the BBC, particularly in this country and throughout the world from the Israeli propaganda machine. They sound very, very similar to the excuses for Bloody Sunday. There is a Bloody Sunday inquiry still ongoing in the north of Ireland as we speak. The results of which I think are to be published in the next few months, and you can guarantee that the same justifications, supposed justifications for those crimes will be used, that the soldiers thought they were under fire, that they felt threatened for their lives, that what they were doing was self-defence. It was nothing of the sort. These were the most heinous, offensive crimes that were designed specifically for an express purpose, to terrorise. The people of Gaza have been terrorised for the last 4 years under blockade and for longer, and been driven from their homes into the world's biggest prison camp. But what this action was designed to do was to terrorise people who are involved in the Palestine solidarity movement on a worldwide basis. The Israeli state are aware that ultimately they will be defeated because the struggle of the Palestinian people is gaining support year upon year across the world. And they know that support is crucial to bringing that regime down, just as what happened in South Africa. And what they want to do is they're trying to break that using terror, using a military solution. And what they'll find, unfortunately for them, is that these kind of tactics aren't going to scare people out of Palestine solidarity. It's going to make us twice as determined, 10 times as determined to show solidarity with the Palestinians. I hope that everybody here who can will go through to Edinburgh tomorrow, where there's a demo that's assembling from 2 PM at the foot of the Mound. I'll certainly be there. Like I say, I'm still in shock at what actually happened, and it's shaking my faith in humanity in some ways, but I'm determined that we don't let that happen. I saw a good video clip of the London rapper Loki, who said, although we weren't there, he says, we weren't there personally, but our taxes were there. The Israeli government are in receipt of so-called aid from the UK and from the USA, and that money is used to buy the guns and the bullets that were used in this claim. And that idea is linked with the idea that our Israel, like Musharraf was before, the current Israeli government are seen as our friends and our allies and are presented as a bastion of democracy. And I think we need to really ramp up the pressure that a state that will commission the murder of charity workers cannot be seen to have any legitimacy on an international level, and we cannot just allow our government to remain in friendship and alliance. I think that it's been so bad that there's been a bit of a wobble there. It was unusual to see the foreign minister of Britain criticising Israel. We saw that this week with William Hague. Never thought I would find myself agreeing with something William Hague said. Alright, for me, he never went far enough, but to see that criticism start to happen shows that there's cracks on the surface, and we need to ramp up the pressure to make that whole structure collapse. It does go to show you how spineless and how right-wing the outgoing Labour regime was, that they had never found the courage or never found the conviction to make any criticisms such as that before, and shame on them for that. But let's think about what we can do now, and that starts with tomorrow.